My name is Melanie Dizon. I'm the Director of Education and Research at the Davis-Phinney Foundation, and I am so excited to be here today with Lorraine Wilson, one of our amazing ambassadors for Sketching for Joy. We had such a large number of people who attended her sketching workshop that was an hour during the How to Live Well with Parkinson's Victory Summit, and everyone was asking, I want more time, I want more time. So here we are. We're giving 2 hours to sketching, and it will fly by, always does. But we hope that you have this moment to just relax and learn and find that creative side and get out anything that's sort of swimming around in your head. It's such a powerful practice to get things on paper. So we're really excited that you're here today. I'm going to turn it over to Lorraine so that she can get the most out of this 2 hours. And I'm going to turn off my video and start sketching with y'all. So Lorraine, take it from here.
Thank you, Mel. This is such a wonderful afternoon here where I am, and I hope you're having a good morning or afternoon where you are. And again, I say thank you because I'm very humbled, very honored, just thrilled to share this time with you. I have a variety of things to share. When I go to put my camera on the gooseneck, I will warn you, if you have any seasickness tendencies, to be aware to close your eyes for a second, and I'll tell you when to open them again. I don't have a fancy setup. It's just to move my phone in place. And I just don't want you to get a little dizzy when I do that. Sketching for joy. I know exactly what that means for me. I don't know what it means for you, but I want to assure you that whatever skill you feel like you're bringing to the paper today, that's all you need. And hopefully you'll learn some more little tricks of the trade with the 2 major things we're going to try today. And I believe you will succeed. And we'll have some tips, like Mel said, as we go. We'll talk a little bit about some of the supplies. And everybody has their favorite. If you just have a pencil right now and a piece of paper out of your computer printer, that's great. If you've got paper with lines on it or dots, like in some of the bullet journals, work with that. It'll all work. It'd be nice if you're going to use anything with color, that your pen might be permanent if you're using pen. I am going to show you some examples that have been made for this first project with watercolor, markers, pencils, colored pencils, watercolor pencils. And then I did one in reverse, and I'll explain what that means. So I think it's easiest if I actually show you everything from the overhead camera. And so I'm going to do that little switch now, and it's going to take me just a second because I have to make my phone behave, otherwise you'll see who knows what. So we will go to my little program. Oh, and if you've ever not, or if you need to do this in the future yourself, I found a really fun app called Overviewer, spell it just like it sounds, Overviewer. And that has really been helpful to me. So we're going to share screen. Give me a second here. Going to go to AirPlay. Going to screen mirroring my laptop. Okay, we will get that off, get it into horizontal. There we go. Moving it up. Hopefully nobody's too seasick and you're all in. Okay. Now, one thing you will notice, I have wax paper on my surface. If you are using very thick markers, very rich, maybe alcohol markers, or if you're using watercolor paints, you're going to want to protect your surface most likely. And if you need to step away and get some wax paper or whatever you want to use, that's great. But I already have mine down on purpose. And of course, sketching for joy and then live well today. That is my very, very, very favorite thing. Of course, everything's my favorite thing about Davis-Phinney Foundation, but we are going to have some fun today sketching for joy. I want to show you a couple of things before we do. I have to admit, I am relatively fond. I consider myself a student of joy, but I found this. Now, how cool is that? I'm going to frame it and put it up in here. This is my little study work area, create area. And I have no idea who made that paper, but I love it. I can always look it up. I have several things framed, 12 by 12 flat frames in my space. And look at what I found. And for me, this is what sketching, art, creating, doodling, crocheting, whatever it is I'm doing. It's really time for me. And it's not a selfish time, my friends. It's important. And then I had to put my little joy here. And if you can't quite see that, joy is a spiritual practice. Carve out a few moments each day for something delightful, joyful, playful, just for you, just because. And that's from Mary Davis and her very fun website, everydayspirit.net. Then, just in case you really are signing on last minute, this is what was sent out about supplies. And you'll notice there's your basic. And you are welcome to just use whatever you have that is basic. This is what is meant by number 4, the printed squares. Now, I don't use them on the paper. I actually, let me show you a few. I actually cut them out, but that's just me. And there's certain papers I like to use, but it's just because I have them. Again, you should not have been spending money to get things for this if you didn't want to. If you wanted to, that's fine. Now, on the fine liner pens, again, the concept of them being permanent ink. If you're going to be using watercolor paint like I will today, that is really significant that these inks be waterproof, okay? So you may or may not have all of the above, but let me talk a little bit about those fine liner pens. Again, a variety of brands, and here's some of the differences. Not a lot of difference from size to size to size, and that's why if you read what I had written there, I like, if I'm gonna be using 2 sizes, I like smaller and larger nib. So I really like 1 and 5 or 3 and 5, 3 and 8. I don't use 10 or 12 much. You could. And I have found these magnificent pens. Oh, everything's magnificent. I'm a pen and paper nut. But these little guys, you can see right there, Signa Uniball makes these. And I have a favorite white, silver, and gold in those. And so Stephen Covey, with leadership says begin with the end in mind, but I'm going to still leave the end for the end and show you something. Now, my friends, some of you like me may have tremor. Personally, I am fortunate that at this point in my Parkinson's journey, medicine works well. But if you are worried, oh, my hands shake, I can't do this, I'm just going to watch though. Please participate. Look at this one. A lot of wiggle going on. Some of it, of course, on purpose, but that is really where we're going to be going with some of our work today. Then I found this fun thing. Again, I'm used to people making excuses. I taught for a long, long, long time. Students have very interesting excuses. I know you're not students, but I found this from an artist, Debbie Putnoy, and it's called Deb Rules of Drawing. Well, why reinvent the wheel? But look at number 1. Now, I hope you're here because you're not saying number 1, but many people will come and go, well, I don't know why I'm here. I can't draw a straight line with a ruler. Well, that's good. We don't necessarily need any straight lines. So trust yourself is number 2. Even, who is it? Pablo? No, it's not Pablo Picasso. I think it is Picasso. There is a quotation about, when we were children, we were artists. And then, something happened that broke that. And as adults, we're afraid to go back. But I want you to trust yourself and know it's going to be a lot of fun today. No right or wrong, that's for sure. Can you use an eraser? Sure. Do you need an eraser? No. And I'll explain that as we go. No mistakes. Oh, look, she puts no erasers, but I'm okay on erasers. Don't be critical. Take risks. Experiment. Have fun. Number 8, important. Number 2, important. And then, we talk about sketching and art and creativity as being helpful, and it gives us things that are pretty to look at, or it gives us way to process, to use our time to help ourselves. Well, I don't know if you've seen this, it's just one example, but this is all about veterans. And they're using art programs to help the veterans get over, maybe not get over, but cope with PTSD, etc. And then this is cool. I found this in my my husband's doctor office. But this very well program cycles through on the monitors there. And this is the benefits of mindfulness-based art therapy. Well, what are the benefits? What you're going to realize today. Time is going to pass by. You're going to have a lot of fun. And our time will be up before we know it, but you're going to have something to show for it. And Phinney Foundation is not the only wonderful place helping people be creative. This is from Parkinson's Foundation. And then we'll save that for later. So let's get to it, shall we? What we're going to do today is called Neurographic Art, or Neurographica. It was developed in 2014. It's not that old. by a guy named Pavel Piskarev. And I want to say he's Russian, but he might not live in Russia anymore. I don't remember that part. Can you become an instructor, a trainer, or whatever in his methods? Well, sure. Can we do it ourselves? Well, sure. We'll give him credit. We're going to do our own thing. There's a variety of methods. You and I today are doing one that is manageable, fun, wonderful. I'm going to show you some examples. This was my very first one. Okay, that was the first one. You can do that too. It's a bunch of scribbles and then some color. There's more to it. And this one has been made into a greeting card. Okay, then there is this one. Different size greeting card, still a greeting card. Different material. And I mounted it because it was too small for the card. I didn't want a card that's, you do what you want. It's all good. This one, oh, I went for shiny paint. Can I get, you see the shine? That's kind of fun. You can do your cards vertical, you can do your cards horizontal. You get to decide what they look like. But you can see the idea here with neurographic is, he said that the neurons in our brain are put to task, are positively affected when we're doing something creative. And in this case, sketching and coloring. Maybe not coloring with color, that's all good too. I'll show you one that has no color in it at all. And so we're calling this positive change within the art. And that for you, then that's positive change within the artist. Here's one that's been done with markers. So yes, you can see some of the streaks. I tried not to let that happen. I used a blender pen, but it's all good. Try to use different colors. I'm not perfect at color choice. Now you may think, I don't write letters. Well, do you write postcards? How about this one? So I just glued it on a piece of paper that made it a postcard. Okay, and that is just colored pencil. And that's why I thought that'd be good on a postcard. It won't make a mess. Then here's what I mean by reverse. One piece of paper, one color of ink. This happens to be silver on black. You guys probably have white paper if I'm guessing. And so black on white is typically what we're going to be doing. And that's what I'm doing anyway. So here's my black pen. And you could just fold a piece of paper to make the card and work on the top of it. You could buy a package, and then just mount it, glue it on like I do. And when it comes to gluing, good old Elmer's, it's been around forever, right? You can go with a simple Elmer's dot runner or glue stick or what have you to attach. Some of you may be into putting things together and use something like Yes paste. It's marvelous stuff. No wrinkling, no crinkling. So neurographic art, what are we going to do? Here's my piece of paper. Now, if you're going to just use something to write with, whether that's pen, pencil, fine liner like this Micron, a Statler, whatever it is you're using, that's great. When I get finished with my lines, I do want to use watercolor just to let you see it and some of the different ways you can use watercolor. And preview, it's so much fun to use a watercolor brush that has water in it. Can you see the water moving up and down? I left a bubble in there on purpose just so you can see it. We'll talk about that in a minute. But here's the reason I'm telling you that. If you're using watercolor, something that's going to get this wet, you need to paint it down or it crinkles and rolls all over. That's kind of annoying. So you might be able to see, I hope you can. I have little marks here. Me being me, I try not to be a perfectionist. I tell people sometimes in some behaviors, I'm a recovering perfectionist. But when it comes to this, if I want to use it as is, I really do want to follow the edges. So I'm actually going to tape along those lines because those are 1/8 of an inch from the edge. And that's going to let me somewhat hope for a good edge. So I don't know where you are in your prep. You may have something to write with, something to write on, and you are not worrying about watercolor, etc. as we finish, which is fine. But if you hadn't thought about color and I'm convincing you to do color, maybe you've got kids, grandkids, what have you, go in the drawer in the kitchen. You know those drawers in the kitchen? Or maybe your drawers in the laundry room? And surely there's crayons, markers, something, if you want it. You don't have to. Colored pencils you might have, I don't know. Maybe you have Sharpie markers. Those are good. Now, we're not necessarily saying we're using archival material, okay? Because when I make greeting cards, those people may read it and throw it away. That's all good. I had fun. This is all about process. Okay, now I taped that down just for convenience, but let me explain what our first step really is. Are you ready? Here we go. One of the things about neurographic art is that it is intended to help us deal with anything that's not going well in our lives. Hopefully everything is going well in your life. That would be marvelous. So honestly, the idea about being mindful while doing art, but without stressing about it, okay? Difficult emotions sometimes stress us. But we're gonna do what's called a release. Are you ready? So on the back of whatever you're using, now I already taped mine down, but on the back of it, if you could think of something that you would like to manage better, think of something that is a complication in your life right now, maybe even think about something that you just want to do or need to do. Well, you need to do and don't want to do. How's that sound? Maybe there's a health issue. Well, Parkinson's, right? Maybe there's an immediate issue, like something happened at the house, the washing machine broke and you got to get that fixed. Well, that's stressful. I don't know about you, but lately it seems like it's cheaper to buy a new washing machine than spend $500 to get it fixed. But whatever it might be, if you would jot a concern on here. Now, if really you are having a good day, week, month, year, you can flip it. You can write the name of a person or several names of persons that you want to reach out to. So you're going to be mindful and thinking about them while you're working on this project today. And in fact, I'm going to go for the positive side. So I'm going to write about little Levi. I get to babysit him tonight and I want him to be happy, you know? So I'm going to be thinking about Levi, and he is not quite a year. So as I'm thinking about Levi, I'm going to be thinking about his health, about his fun with Cooper. Cooper is a beautiful dog. And that's what I'm going to have on my mind. Levi's on my mind today. And so as I'm working, I really think it's going to go to the back of my mind. But at the end of our time together, the idea with micrographic or neurographic art is that you want the transformation to be quietly taking place. It may not be like a full transformation, as that word might imply, but to just unconsciously be conscious or consciously be, about what you're thinking of. So if there's an issue, like one of my friends just broke her wrist. So I could be, hoping that is mending well. My husband has recently had some heart issues. And so definitely could be thinking about how to make, life easier for him. And so that's not a stress, right? So anything, and you don't have to put anything, guys. If you want to, fine. And if you don't, fine. Then you can tape, if you're going to use watercolors or something later. If not, just turn it over and we'll get ready to go. But here's the idea. Are you ready? You're going to now draw some scribbles. We're going to get it out there, okay? Technically, according to the instructions, if we can say there's instructions with this, you have 3 seconds. Well, we may take more than that. But if you'll let me show you one more finished one again, let's go to this one. Yeah. Do you see all the scribbles? All right, now this one, fewer scribbles, right? The more scribbles, the more intersections, the more time it takes. But I'm confident we'll get this finished. If we don't get it all the way finished, you'll know how to finish at home, because we will switch to a second activity for journal sketching journals. Yeah. So starting on an edge, we have 3 seconds. Looking at my watch. Okay, so we just start going like this, and you can just scribble. You can be thoughtful about where your lines are. They can be straight, they can be crooked. After you kind of make your scribbles, that was about 3 seconds. If there's any blank spots right now, you could fill it in, make sure everything ends. Now these loops stay out where they are, but if you ended up with a line that ended up here for some reason, nah, they really do want that to go to an edge. So I'll take it that way. Now, when you look at that, is it pleasing? That's a question to ask yourself. I'm going to go to this one, kind of big. Okay. Do you see any differences in the intersections, friends? Do you see the harsh X there? The harsh X, the crisscross? That's a little stressful, that scribble. So one of the important things about neurographic art, how are we going to get our neurons to start firing, hoping that just like endorphins are released with good prolonged cardiac exercise, we want our neurons, maybe you might say, as I might say, what's left of them, to be to be shooting, to be firing. So we're going to soften this. Again, is this artistic? Yes. Does it take a lot of skill? No, to be frank. But we want to be calm now and thoughtful. If you have a thicker pen, you want to switch, or if not, that's fine. So here's what we do. There's our intersection. We are going to soften it by just going here. Now, I know with Parkinson's, it's good to do big movements. And yes, with exercise, we do big movements. And if we had a big canvas, we'd be doing big movements. We're working small simply to meet our telephone environment here and our Zoom environment. But there, the idea is when I get rid of the harsh X and get rid of any straight connections to the edges and just kind of get quiet, thoughtful, mindful. And if you don't like that way, guys, you can make it to have a bigger connection. Again, definitely no right or wrong. What's nice if you wanted to go to a bigger marker, and I will, let's see, what am I using right now? 5. Yes. If I wanted to get my 8, you will notice very quickly that it is bigger. So it will fill in faster. I'm really not bad with the 5, so I'm gonna go back. And I like to retrace my lines. Remember, if you have a shaky line, embrace it. We're gonna let those be shaky lines. That's a nice big neuron. It's gonna send out some good messages. So I'm gonna be quiet. We're gonna be just thoughtful, mindful, relaxing, and let neurographic art kind of touch us. Sometimes the quiet doesn't seem right to some people. So if you need talk, I can fill in with talk, but I'm going to be quiet for now unless. If you notice what I just did, sometimes when I get to small spaces like this one, there's an intersection, there's an intersection, there's an intersection. I could just round each one, yes. But usually when I get to that, I usually just make myself a round, oval, whatever the shape might need to be. And then I go to color those intersections. And that's another way that it helps me round those. You are always welcome to do it either way. And then there's a few steps even after this. If you're using a pencil, you can vary the pressure for darkness, lightness. In workshops, sometimes I will do Zentangle or a segment of Zentangle, and then there is Zentangle Inspired Art. I would say that I have seen some folks basically create a picture, maybe of a lighthouse, maybe of, something that they enjoy, and then come back and do the lines and the rounding to basically turn that into a paint, sketch, what have you, of a lighthouse, but it has been done then with neurographic art. It's really quite nice looking. So maybe Zentangle and Zentangle Inspired Art, maybe we could say there's a pure form of neurographica, and then neurographic inspired art. I know earlier I mentioned that it's really about the process. What amazes me time and again is that these drawings look a wee bit complex when they're all finished. But it's just two simple steps. Scribble, color. Well, scribble around the corners, and or if you choose. Nothing wrong with good old black and white. You could be doing this with a color marker. Maybe you had a red Sharpie. I'm going to try this on fabric soon. I just haven't yet. So I don't know how small or large your piece is. If you're about finished, I still have this much to go. Let's see what time. We have 1:30. I'm going to do a little bit more. If you want to be mindful and conscious, very deliberate about whatever you wrote on the back of your card, paper, feel free to draw or stop rounding for a bit, short bit, while you think about that. But normally I just let my subconscious take over on that. And then when we finish, I will have some questions for you. We'll see what your answers are. There it is, Pablo Picasso. Thank you, thank you. Every child is an artist. Yeah, probably when we grow up. And like, makes it also sound like Never Never Land. So, there's childish and there's childlike. I kind of like to think of some of my creative endeavors as childlike. It's just enjoyment, relaxation. If I don't find a purpose for it, fine. I don't mind cutting up some of these things to become useful. And they don't have to become useful, just as they are. have a little funny one right here. Yeah, we'll curve that. And sometimes I have to just look. How am I doing with my intersections? Am I seeing them all? Take a deep breath. Just kind of relax. You want to sit back even for a few seconds or a minute. That's good too. Ooh, those look like twin engines on a boat. Let's go water ski. You probably noticed a lot of the time I trace back over my lines, and sometimes it's fun to make them thicker or to leave them thin. I don't like how that one worked there, so I'm taking it up. That's my prerogative, right? It's not just a woman's prerogative to change her mind. If there's some guys here, you sure can change your mind. And I want to do everything I can for my neurons. I want my brain to be helped by whatever I can do. And this just makes me happy. It's good to be happy. Remember, ignite joy. Fire up those neurons. Here. Getting close. How you guys doing? Yeah, a little thicker. I hope you do not have the news on. It's very quiet where I am, and I like it that way when I'm doing art. I do sometimes love having music. You may be listening to some music in the background. That's a very good thing. It can be inspirational. If you're finished, please wait just another minute. We're about there. If you still have many more intersections, I understand. But we may move on to some of the coloring stages, just for those who do indeed have some crayons, markers, pencils, watercolors, something. And as you can see, it's just fun and lovely to see your abstract. Does it remind you of anything? It doesn't have to, but does it? I have to tell you, in one of mine, I saw an octopus. I've shown you an octopus. I like the sea, and so it's not unusual for me to think about octopi. Okay, if you're getting tense, let those shoulders down, let that hand relax, take a deep breath. Getting there, doing good. Put a smile on your face, makes you feel better. And yes, I believe all this corny stuff, I think a smile on your face does make you feel better. I do. Usually. Well, I'm satisfied. I don't know if you're satisfied. Now I look at this. Let me get my octopus. My octopus. I didn't draw an octopus. He just came out when I started painting. Okay, you ready to color? Don't know. Let's see how we're doing. Think we're doing well? Okay, if you want to, it's a good time to stretch your arms up, maybe roll back, maybe take your elbows back. One thing about a lot of what we do with art is leaning forward. So do every now and then. Take a break, get that body relaxed a little bit. So now this process has allowed us to work on each intersection, kind of like we work on our concern, our problem, our praise, whatever it is we're happy about, sad about, not sad, but concerned. And so we want to then move to color, if you have color. And if you just have a pencil, it's really cool. Let me find my pencil. Of course, it's nice to have pencils that are like anywhere on the 2B or the F or the H or whatever you want to use this one. Okay, so if you're using pencil, you could simply shade. Okay, we shade one way. Or you could shade. Oh, pencil graphite is marvelous stuff. And then you could crosshatch. I'm doing it kind of messy on purpose. You could use a pattern. So you could fill this with a pattern. Nothing wrong if you are using pencil. Now, watercolor, what's fun about these, I need to put it right here where you can see it. Because the water's in the barrel, I can get it to come into the brush. See that? And that will help me activate the paint. I am going to cheat a little bit though and put some water in my cup as well, just so I have double. You will notice that sometimes when people are using watercolor, they have these little spray bottles and you're going, what are they going to do with that? Well, you spray your whole little kit of watercolors to get them all wet if you want to. I usually don't, but you can. So, let me show you what this is. This is a travel watercolor kit. They call them maybe pocket sketch kit. Let's see, this one, pocket field sketch box. This is from Koi Sakura. And so this is actually the pen that came with it. And actually I've tried 4 different pens and it is my favorite. And so it has a tiny palette. And it has this particular color group. Now, that had some limitations. So the next thing I bought was this little dude because it is all tropical colors. And one thing you'll notice is there's usually a piece of paper where you can put a dab of what it looks like because this does not look like that, right? It's hard to know. So that lets me know if I want those colors, what I want. I made my own here, just so you know. So I'm going to, and I hope that you may have some markers, some crayons, etc. And I don't have to do the whole thing. But what I like to do, I'll put it over here. I like to get a little water here, and you could spray if you wanted to. And then I think today is a pretty bright, joyful day. I'm going to go with one of my favorite colors. I wore my favorite color, kind of a dark pink. I'm going to go here. So I get some of this, and I'm going to water it down first. Always, I say always. Let's not use the word always. I'm going to make it an iMessage. I like to start light, and then I can make it darker if I want to, okay? So I'm going to move this over to my paper towel. I'm going to get a little bit more because I know I want to be a little more intense than that. And so my coloring, I usually like the tip of the brush near the edge. If I go to do this, I can get it, into that one, and I may not want to. So I'm going light first, and you'll notice that where my tip of my brush is, I have a little dot. Well, sometimes I like the dot, so I'm going to put the dot right at the end. Yeah, I like it. Then sometimes I like to have just a nice dark something. Let that sit for a sec. And, I wonder if you can color over pencil. Ooh, you can. Oh, that's cool. Although pencil by itself is lovely. So you just kind of get lost now in coloring your piece. We're doing great on time. Ooh, what a luxury to have 2 hours. Thank you, Mel. Ooh, I like that dark. Now, if for any reason you were really in a time crunch and you had to finish something, blow dryers, hair blow dryers. Except right now, if I were to blow on that, you know what's going to happen, right? Here. Whoop, not enough. Here we go. Nice and wet. No, need a straw. You can blow it and make really fun designs. Now, maybe you don't want to be neat between each one. That's okay. You can just color, all right? Make it big. And then sometimes if you don't like the way that dries and the way it looks, gosh, that's almost like a flower, isn't it? Cool. You can then go back over these black lines with a black pen after everything is dry. If you don't like having it painted over. Well, I'm gonna make that dark too. We have a little three-piece center of the flower. If it's a flower, it may not be a flower. I'm gonna go ahead and finish my pencils. You know what this looks like, don't you? Looks like the way I would draw a little bear cub foot. See, those are the bottoms of his toes. Now, it doesn't have to look like anything. I just kind of have a wild imagination. What can I say? I'm liking the pink. Okay. But I want to change colors. Clean my brush. Kind of check it on paper towel. Clean my brush. Check it on paper towel. Get a little water on the good old palette here. Let's see. I'm going to be girly. I like this pink and green. I'm in the mood for pink and green. You know, spring to summer. Let's do it. So I'm going to get this green. Ooh, nice. So let's just go kind of light. Where do we want to start with green? Start here. And I learned something accidentally the other day. A lot of what I learn is by accident. I'm going to show you. Okay, I'm going to make this a little thicker. Ooh, don't get in my pink. Don't get in my green. You know, it's okay. I'll do it. Just get it in there. But watch what happens with paper towel. You know how paper towel has a little pattern on it? Here's what I learned by accident. Because I was going to blot something up and change it completely. I changed my mind when I did this. Blot, pick up, and you have a little pattern, a little print. It's kind of fun. Can't say that that's really what I want right now, but it is fun to experiment. You can also do, if you have any, let's see, I guess anything that might be able to be used as a stencil. Of course, you kind of made your very own here. Ooh, and one thing I'm going to try next is I'm going to do this, color it. Well, no, I'm not going to color it. I'm going to do all of the lines and softening, rounding. And then I'm going to use a blade to cut it out and then mount it on top of a piece of paper. I'm going to go a little more green. Dark one. I have to admit, I try not to normally go next to an adjacent wet paint. That really can make a mud, but it's okay. Then I'm going to go here. And I know that I'm not turning my paper. Normally when I do this, my wax paper would just be a little bit bigger than my taped piece. But for our purposes today, I would thought that might be too much moving around and wiggling. I don't want anybody to get seasick. Now, where else do I want to go? I think that's where I'll stop with green. Oh, by the way, when you're coloring these particular neurographic art pieces, it is recommended, and I played with a variety of things, but let your colors be 3 or 5 or 7. So right now I have 2 colors. I'm going to put in a third color, and then I'm going to decide if I want to add 2 more. You may know the rule of thirds in photography or art. You may know that often things seem more pleasing in odd numbers. I don't know why, but that's the case. Well, since I've got kind of these nice bright colors, I'm going to go with a bright blue. So I'm going to put my little blue here. Yes. I'm going to let this be a little accent, I think, which tells me I'm probably going to 5 colors. I'm going to go here. There's no reason. I pick. You pick. Okay. I think that's all I'm doing. No, I need to. Oh, I'll go over here. No, stay in the middle. No. Oh, by the way, you can start dark, get a little more water. If you're using paint like this, a little more water. You can also squeeze it out here. And then you could tilt your paper to let it run. So you can also just let it go. This is gonna go nice and fluid. I decided I wanted to stay with 3 colors. And then you'll work from darker to light outer. And if I wanted to, watch this. Yeah. And I typically take more time when I'm working, but I do know we have a wee bit of a time frame. So now just like that mask, watch this. This is fun. I'm gonna go back to my green. And let's start here in the corner. And we're gonna kind of green blue it. Then we're gonna green blue it. And I think we'll green blue this one. We'll green blue that one. Clean my brush a little bit more. And I wanna mix that. So it's like instead of mixing on your palette, you can just play with your paint or your markers on your paper. No right or wrong. What do you feel moved to do? And in a quiet space, I'll try to be quiet again. Let you finish what you're doing when you're ready. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to get my brush up. You can remove paint by just having a clean brush. Not like remove, but lighten. Oh, that's a fun effect. I like those. You won't always like your work. I hope you do, though. When I don't like it, I usually make something else out of it. I have been known to throw things away, but pretty rarely. Very rarely. So when you have completed your piece, which I'm going to say mine is completed now, you can decide if you wish that you had done something different. I'm going to talk just a little bit about this while you guys are finishing. Hopefully everybody will be finished in a sec. But before I colored, if I didn't like what I had, you are welcome to use something to add shapes if you don't like what you've devised. And I can show you where I've done that on this. Hope. I didn't do it on any of these, but you can. And sometimes I even use these cutting circles to get an oval or a circle in there. So if when you're doing your drawing, you think, I don't like my lines and shapes yet, well, go ahead and fix it. So saying that you're finished, if you're taped, you're gonna pull that tape off, got a little white edge. May or may not be even. Yeah, I didn't get that one even after all. It's okay. It's all good. So if I don't get it even, then that's when I go with marker over instead of paper under. But miraculously, to me, it just is delightful. It's like a surprise every single time. You have this little fun piece of art. And does that little line really matter? No, it really doesn't. So I would now just think for a moment about what I've written on the back. And you kind of actually meditate might be too strong a word, but I'm going to use the word meditate, but be thoughtful about what you were thinking about or not thinking about or what you were dedicating this piece to, whatever you want to call it, to see if indeed the process has helped you relax. You just reflect on your final product in such a way that you think, did I like doing this? I did. I hope you did. If not, you might want to try it a different way. There are some other ways. You can look up Neurographic Art. YouTube has videos. There's a lot of even journal articles on Dr. Let's see, Pavlov Piskarev. Yep, Dr. Piskarev. And then one example that they give, I need this to dry. I'll tell you what, let's do it on this one. If I want to, at the end, which this is the end of this one, I can come in and I can say that from everything on this left side, I am now going to darken just that edge on every single one. So obviously I'm not going to do the whole. And where you decide that edge starts and stops is up to you. And you just keep doing it. Not required, certainly an option. Depending upon the material that you've used, markers, crayons, etc., it tends to give you a really interesting shadow effect that's different than just the original lines. Here you can see I blended purple and red, maybe not so successfully. Here I had purple, purple, and blue. Kind of fun. I really like the yellows and oranges. So again, I've not done it with crayons personally, but colored pencils, watercolor pencils, watercolor paint, markers, keeping it as simple as black on white, or in this case, silver on black. I put an orange background on it. And then if you wanted to make it into a card, I have this card that I actually folded watercolor paper. I know this is little, but hey, what if we did it this way? Yeah. And then I could measure this, and I could do a second one and put it right there. Or I could leave that like this. I have this really fun stamp that's, let me get these open. I have a really fun stamp. I also like using stamps and ink pads, right? And so if this was the front of my card, I have a stamp that does this. So you see how it kind of makes that artificial line at the bottom? So I could stamp up there. This could go under it. And then whatever you want to put down. I mean, it's just fun. You get to create. And you may be saying, I don't do cards. Well, you don't have to do cards. And that's why we're going to do something else momentarily. But I like cards, bookmarks. It's just fun to have something, for me, it's something that's a product. And there you go. That is Neurographic Art in a nutshell. And the idea is that you can do it. Let me show you one last way. Just if you really want to do it, maybe short and sweet. You know how I was saying odd numbers? Instead of scribbling, we're going to do 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, looks like basketball, 4, and I'm going to go from here to here. Okay. Now with something like that, very few intersections, nice big places to color. This is where you could come in and do this. Or you could do an oval. And of course you can draw it yourself. Make sure it touches something though, okay? And you could then go with the same process, much fewer lines, much fewer intersections. Still though, the process of identifying something you want to think about and be mindful of, lines, other images, round your corners, or I guess really it's an intersection, small or large. The idea being that we're activating our neurons, getting them to help us. Help us. Pretty fun. Okay, now moving on. Let's say you have actually a sketchbook in your possession. This is a very simple sketchbook. Plain, huh? Simple paper. Excellent for sketching, not so good for alcohol inks or watercolors. This is actually a fun opportunity if you're interested in sketching or you want to expand what you're doing and you're already a very proficient person. Some of you are probably artists, much better than me. I used to have a lot of fun. But you can change that paper to be watercolor paper. Here, what I did instead, I changed my cover. So jelly print, if you've ever done that, I made the jelly print on watercolor paper, cut it to size, rounded the corners, and then I sewed it. Where's my center? I just used thread, and there's a pattern to it, and I sewed it. This piece of paper is to help, because when I used markers on this one, and it was Neurographic Art, but I did it purposefully of a wave. And so notice how I left white streaks right there, meaning sun, and then here was my nice bright sky, here is my pretty blue wave. This is the sketchbook I took a few weeks ago to Cozumel. And so this is all pencil. Pencil's probably the medium I'm least good using, so I try to use it often until I get better. I love black and white sketching. It was Earth Day, so I sketched a seahorse. Went back to watercolor pencil. Yeah. Went back to what I'm better at, Zentangle black and white. But oh, have you been to Mexico? I love the Codis as they call them. They're hilarious. There's my, yeah. So your sketchbooks, I always take one on vacation. Usually it's one thing a day. Now, on Facebook, if you're a social media person, there is a group for persons with Parkinson's, their art group, and everybody can participate. There's another one called Art Journaling for Beginners. And this person, I blocked off their name. I don't think it's showing. Best thing that happened to me during COVID, started being creative. This also caught my eye because it's tulips. And one of the things we're going to talk about now is one of the ways to fill a sketchbook with flowers or something else you like. And now, those of you who have been with me before, a couple of these are redundant, but I'll be not too quick, but quick enough we can move on to what we're going to do. A journal, a creative journal that lets you get away from whatever is an issue for you, or you need to relax, or you want to relax, etc., etc. I like to go with quotations. I'm not going to use Danny Kaye on today's, but this particular book was all filled with a quotation on the left and a tulip on the right. So it's a tulip book. Now, we today, if we choose to do this, we're going to look at Davis's quote. I can't control that I have Parkinson's, but I can control how I live with Parkinson's. There's another quote from Maya Angelou that is similar to this that I love it. And these are two of my very favorite quotes. Michael J. Fox has a really great one, and it includes the word joy. So I really like that quote myself. These tulips, this one is almost like stained glass. And some people have said, particularly this one that I started with, that it looks like stained glass. It kind of does, and I liked it. You can also see now that we've painted and talked, there's light, dark, etc. Lots of colors. This one really is supposed to, I drew it to look like stained glass. This one's more like a stencil. Now, none of you can tell me you couldn't draw something like that. Or maybe you like to do a single flower. This is intended to be red and white, which is kind of that James Parkinson's flower, tulip. Or maybe you want to draw one in a pot. I don't know. But if we were to do a tulip page with a favorite quotation, we could. I have to admit, I'm hoping that you will approach this as a sketch journal that you're just beginning. Excuse me. So you're going to make this about you. Okay. Have you ever looked at a piece of modern art and thought, I can do that? Excuse me. I am guilty of that. And I'm not going to say guilty. I'm not going to apologize for it. It's like, it challenges me. Can I do that? If you need a bathroom break, a sip of water break, and eat something break, please take it. This is one of my Kandinsky moments. I don't know if you know about Kandinsky. But again, let's break it down. Look at the simplicity. You say, I'm not an artist. Yes, you are. A line here becomes a triangle. A line here. See, that looks like Halloween corn candy, right? Couple curvy lines. Curly Q, more lines. Looks like a flag, sort of. Played with some color. Played with some patterns. And there, I channeled my inner Kandinsky. Some little dot work. You know, shading, you put all the darts closer together. Let the little dots be separated if you want it to be a lighter appearance. Here we colored each of those. This is very similar in a way, I think, to the neurographic art, and it's just a lot of fun. But if I get my druthers, here's what we're going to do. Of course, none of you can talk back to me. But I really want us to approach a sketch journal like, how do I start? Well, we're going to start with you. In this particular journal, I started with About Me. So when I started with About Me, you know this pattern paper that I had you start with, or from the foundation, and it had the squares. I've moved mine, so I can't get it right now. But if you wanted to be very perfect, you could, have squares lined up. Nothing wrong with that. This is page 1. This is page 2. I love this quote too. Be yourself. Everyone else is taken. The very famous and wonderful Dr. Seuss. You'll also notice in this sketchbook that I used a stamp of a butterfly, and I numbered my pages that way. In this sketchbook, I used a stamp of a dragonfly. You don't have to do that. You just put page numbers or don't put page numbers. But I think our challenge today is let's approach a brand new, unused sketch journal, ready to go. The artists out there, you can be fancier, beautifuler, whatever. It's all marvelous. And I have to admit, sometimes there's just nothing about a really beautiful piece of art that has been created using other materials. And I'm going to show you these. Do you see this beautiful little thing? Here, it's a sketch journal made from leather. If they're going to eat the cow, might as well do something with the rest of it, right? And so this paper is called Arches Woven. It's kind of a cream color. You can see it comes pre-punched, and the holes are here in the leather. And this is exactly how I sewed together this one that I made with paper. I haven't sewn this one yet, but I will. And it just feels so luxurious to have a lovely journal. And then, of course, I have to go for maybe a wee bit fancier pen. Like I said, I like pens and paper and color and stuff. Okay, so here was my first 2 pages, what we'll call a layout, okay? And so About Me. Start with About You. Let's sketch. I'm going to do this just on paper. And what I like to do is I cut a bunch of papers. And this paper right here is this quality of paper that we would get off of our printers. So I'm going to use that because many of you may be using a very common paper, which is excellent. I like it. So if you want to, you can get 2 if you want to think about it as a layout. Let's do that. Okay. So what you've already learned about me when you see this is pink is one of my favorite colors, and I love water. I think you probably figured that out when I talked about my octopus. My little scuba flag there, okay? I was a teacher forever, didn't do math, thank heavens, but I used it because it was simple. Love books, love cats, any animal, but my favorite cat was an Abyssinian. Have you seen a ruddy Abyssinian? Oh my goodness, simply exquisite. I love Zentangle. That is one of my favorite patterns. It's called Cadent. I love joy. Oh, I love ice cream. Yeah, I love ice cream. And then I have to admit, I love sport cars. Most of my friends tell me that I fly low. I used to be a pilot, private pilot, had fun, decided to put my money back into other stuff. But yep, I've had a sport car since 1982, except for a few months when I kind of panicked and my husband let me get another sports car. So as this book grew, and I'm showing you pages, not the entire book, you might choose to say, and you might notice I did all of my headings. I chose to, you don't have to. But I did all my headings sort of in the same little print. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. I used some photos. This again is from Cozumel when we went last year. But I'm a person with Parkinson's, and I'm grateful for others I know with it so we may support each other. This photo I printed on vellum and then typed on it. Well, I typed on it and then cut it out. So it's a note to self, eat well, write someone an encouraging note, drink water, do exercise, etc. Here are my symptoms, motor versus non-motor, right? Newly diagnosed are like, this is the diagnosis? Where's my blood test? Where's my MRI? Where's my whatever? Sorry, it's clinical. And I learned a lot about clinical assessments. Yeah. Now, I'm my own team captain. Everybody, I really believe that we need, and this is where I love being an advocate, we really want to help our newly diagnosed folks understand the whole team process here. You have your family supporting you, friends supporting you, you have physician, I have a family physician, a neurologist, and a movement disorder specialist. Why do I have both a neurologist and a movement disorder specialist? So you're getting this free. It's a sketching, but because my neurologist is here. Where is here? Kind of the middle of nowhere. Love the power of the internet, right? But my movement disorder specialist is 3 hours northwest of here. And so we chose to have someone local stay on my team. And a physical therapist, occupational therapist, etc. Maybe, this art coaching, maybe this could be part of your team. Yeah. And I try to be an optimist. I do. This photo is from Honduras on another trip. And to me, it's glass half full. And so as an optimist, I see opportunity in difficulties. So that's one of my favorite things. Failure is my least favorite thing, but boy, those are the lessons I've learned hardest. I have a lot of favorite moments teaching, but one of my favorite moments teaching was when I got to speak to the graduates. That made me just really love it. And then I got to go back and work with fifth graders for a while. That was hilarious. Here's some of your ambassador group. We call ourselves a tribe. Yeah. And then friends. What would we do without family and friends? So, I've drawn a little candy box, put laughter. And then I love this quotation. I like quotes. I don't have all the best words in my own brain, but attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. So now let's get your paper, whether you do one or two, you can see. I'm going into my pencil. And again, if this is about me, I'm going to start with about me. And so I think on this one, I'm going to sketch a little title box. Okay. May or may not be perfect. So I draw another little line, just kind of give it that look. I didn't mean it to be perfect. Yeah. Okay, I like that. I'm not going to draw anything down here that's a box. And so I'm going to write my title. And I'm just going to do it very simply. I'm going to put me like that. Yeah. Okay. So here's our sketch journal. So I want part sketching, part journaling. And I might ask myself, I don't know how to start. Well, we got started. This is good. What is one of the first things people might notice about you? Do you smile a lot? Maybe they might notice your beautiful hair. Maybe they might notice that I don't know what they're going to notice. Maybe you want to approach this page with what you want to tell people about you. That's usually how I approach it. And so when I'm sketch journaling, I might start with just something that's around me, something that's in front of me. So for example, oh yeah, I have my handy dandy Davis Phinney mug. So I'm going to start with my mug. Okay, so how do I start with my mug? Well, I may not be perfect at drawing mugs, but I know I need an oval at the top. I can see that. You may be starting with a book that is sitting there in front of you. Maybe you're starting with things about you like I did on my first page. Where's my first page? So I'm going to leave that there in case you want to be, and you can mimic me. Mimicry is quite a good form of flattery. So you don't have to have your sketch journal page look like that. And remember, everything is modifiable. So I am going to draw a little slope here, a little slope here. By the way, I'm going to talk about materials. You keep drawing. I'm going to show you 3 super duper erasers that you want to know about. Well, I was doing this with a friend the other day and I may have given her everything I had. Let's see. Oh no, here it is. Okay, good. And here this one is good. Okay. I do have them. All right. You're sketching about you. I'm going to talk for a minute. You don't have to watch. You can listen or tune me out. This right here, this gray eraser, that's what's called a kneaded eraser. K-N-E-A-D-E-D. Can you see that? Kneaded eraser. And the really wonderful thing about kneaded erasers, if you're not familiar with them, I learned pretty much everything by trial and error. And I have to admit, if you're not familiar with low prices at arts and crafts stores or coupons, And you're thinking, I can't afford some of that stuff. Well, that's when you start looking for the deals. All right, so do you see this mug? And it's not quite really how I want it. This is gonna allow me just to very much lighten. I don't want to necessarily erase, but I want to lighten. That was close, but not quite right. And I'm gonna change it with just a nice straight line. Oh, I like that better. Well, maybe I don't want to lighten. Maybe I truly want to erase. Good. That's when I use this dude. Only mine looks like, where's mine? I mean, this is mine too, but I'm not using it right now. There we go. Whoop, dropped it, sorry. It's been very much used and abused. This is what they look like when they're nice and new. So new, erase, lighten, or sort of erase. And then let's talk just briefly. What if I am going to make a card and I am going to glue something together and sticky stuff gets out here? Aha! This erases sticky stuff. And I have to admit, I don't have any clue what the name is. I don't remember. But just look for one of these funny little erasers. But you see what this is? See, that just pulls the sticky stuff right off. For example, if I had sticky stuff still right here, I would just go like this, feel, go like this, feel. Oh, there's one. So those are my 3 favorite erasers. And I highly recommend them. Okay, so pencil, erasers, back to our sketch. So there's my lid. And actually my lid is a twofer, so I'll just come down instead of going up. Now, I don't know what you know about perspective or about sketching, but just draw what you see and be having fun with it. You can give the illusion of the roundness by using a little curved line. You know, this isn't so much how to as it is let's play, let's explore. If I didn't have my lid on, you know, maybe on the inside of the cup, I would see that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then Davis Phinney, well, you know what? We have to have our arms up in the air for every victory. So let's get our victory part. Go like this, go like that, go like this, sort of. Bring that one down, a little higher, okay, a little bigger, okay. Davis, forgive me if I'm really messed up. And here's Davis's head. There you go. Every victory counts. Davis Phinney. Love it. Woo-hoo. Oh, I have to write that. Davis Phinney. Now, some of this I will tell you. I would, if I'm going to use colors, these are very lightly colored with colored pencils. If I was going to use colors, then I would come back and possibly outline with one of these, a finer one. So we'll just do that while you're drawing. Don't know how many about me's you have in there yet. I will probably only do a few while you're doing several. Let me get a colored pencil. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Speaking of colored pencils, there are many out there. They range from 99 cents at the dollar store for what, maybe 8 or 12, probably 12, up to like, I saw some pencils the other day that were like $300 for this tin of pencil. Well, huge tin. It was like, I don't know, 100 colors or something. But I thought, $300? Well, I don't think I'm that serious. So a light blue for Davis Phinney. Ooh, look at this. This may not be the correct color. Don't get upset, Davis Phinney. Foundation. But I'm just going to use this to represent. Ooh, close. Close, close, close. And then foundation for Parkinson's would be in this color. Of course, that's way too little, so I'm just going to pretend. And then I need silver. Oh, these particular pencils, let me tell you, this is a deal of a steal. Steal of a deal, whatever they say. Prismacolor, if you have, we have Sam's, we don't have Costco. You might have both, I don't know. Or you might have a really killer coupon at Michael's, I don't know. But I was fortunate, I found these, and I think they're still there. But this is a box of, a tin of 36 Prismacolors, the Premiers, which are pretty good color, I think. $18.95. And at Michael's, I want to say they're like 44, 39, I don't know. But There's a student quality Prismacolor. Then I think the Premier is next, and then they go into the fancy art colors. That's lovely. The bottom of my mug, I'm going to do a little silver. What I really love about journal pages like this is you get variety. Okay, I don't think there's any more silver. Oh. Ta-da! So then if it's about me, and I'm using a marker now, it would be ambassador. I am so fortunate and pleased and hope to be a good ambassador. There we go. Yeah. Okay, now, what else about me do I want to put up there? Oh, I know. Have you guys heard of kindness rocks? Friendship rocks? Painting on rocks is kind of weird, perhaps, for some folks, but I have to admit, it's an easy resource. But don't go steal them out of other people's yards or anything, okay? But if you find a smooth rock, if you're near a river, that's lovely. I actually go, we have a place in town called Big Country Stone. And so this is like buying river rock, etc., because you can't, there's no place right here to go pick it up. So we buy it by the trailer load, or sometimes I buy it, since I have cats, I buy it by the kitty box, the kitty litter container, the plastic buckets. It's almost a 5-gallon bucket. But they charge me $10 for 5 gallons of rocks. Do you know how many rocks there are in 5 gallons of rocks? I haven't run out in quite a while. And so by the shape or the smoothness or whatever, I love doing rocks. Oh, I have one right here. This is funny. Okay, I have to show you. This is the rock I'm going to draw. There you go. I'm hiding from negative people. Now, people, if we can't paint that rock, come on. So, and there's a group here called Big Country Rocks. And most likely in your city, I don't know, San Diego or South Illinois, some of you guys were from places that I bet you have these rock groups. And you hide the rocks kind of out in plain sight, but you hide them. And on the back, like mine says, post on Facebook, Big Country Rocks. I put my initials in the year. And if they want to, they'll go to that group website or a group on Facebook. And then they find them, and it's just fun. Negative people, okay, people. So I also like to paint other things on rocks, but I just really love the curve and the material and the, it's just a very organic feeling. So paper, pencil, some colored pencils, rocks. So this is, I'm going to call this one kindness rocks. I love kindness rocks. I love kindness. This pen's dying, and that's okay. These are disposable pens. There are some that are not disposable. You can refill them. And again, it's more expensive. So now you may still be thinking about what you like. I have to admit, I love Zentangle, so I'm going to put that. But I'm going to put a different pattern. I know what. Let's do flying geese. By the way, there's a little bit of commonality between quilting and Zentangle. And by the way, if anybody is a quilter, you should probably try to get in contact with me via Davis Phinney Foundation, because last fall we had a fundraiser primarily focused on quilts featuring tulip patterns of some sort, and incredible creativity from these quilters, men and women. And then they donated their quilts, which we then auctioned off for Davis Phinney. So that's one way that you can showcase your talents, your creativity. Making those leather journals. Interestingly, I have a friend who likes to do welding. And I thought about welding when I was making this, because it's like you put on a bead of the lead and it welds and melts, and it was really kind of fun. This pen, I know I'm backtracking, but I have to show you. Well, I don't have to show you, but I want to show you. But apparently, there it is. Whew, thought I'd misplaced the pen. These Signet pens can even be used, of course, in your sketchbook journal efforts. But I hope you can see this. I'm going to start right here. Watch how this flows. Is that not just, I'm going to put one here. Is that just not amazing? The flow of that ink is just mesmerizing. Well, I guess if you're me. Look, I love it. So you can be using a variety of pens, pencils, markers, paints, even in your journal, depending upon the thickness, of course, quality of your paper. So I'm going to do flying geese for my Zentangle. I'm going to put it down here. Zentangles, as we know, or if we don't know, it's a 3-inch, they call it a tile, not a piece of paper. And so typically you would put a dot and a dot and a dot and a dot. What's really nice is for anybody that's feeling a little frustrated, like I had one wonderful person, maybe they didn't think they were wonderful at the moment, but they felt a little apathetic. And if this person is with us today, I'm so happy. But they just weren't getting their art mojo. They just weren't feeling it. And let me tell you, person is an incredible artist. So what I love about Zentangle is, when we have those difficult days, moments, weeks, go back to something as simple as Zentangle, and the paper cannot taunt you because you know exactly how you're going to approach it. Here's your paper, 4 dots, 4 lines, da-da, on the paper. Now, this particular pattern, Flying Geese in Zentangle version, simply asks me to do that, and then it asks me to do this. Trying to keep equidistant. And then here's where the flying geese come in. You go from this bottom left corner to the top center, to the bottom right corner. Up, down, up, down. And for those of us with tremors, now right now, again, my medicine is still marvelous, but there are days that are somewhat shaky. And putting pencil to paper lets me deal with those. Lets me kind of say, all right, I want to be in charge. I am going to be in charge, brain. So cooperate. Now, what do you do to make this flying geese? You color this in. So on this About Me page, I have let people know that I'm a Davis Phinney Ambassador. I have let people know that I like kindness rocks. They don't necessarily know that I make them, but I like them. I do make them. And yesterday I have an artist friend who I surprised with a rock that was all black, and I used silver paint, and it had some designs, very minor, nothing too dominant. And then just in the center of this oval rock, just across the center of the rock, I put one word. I put the word inspire. And I knew when she found this rock, I didn't sign this rock. She'd know who it's from. Well, actually, I put my initials on. No wonder she knew. But this is Flying Geese. Isn't that fun? So I like Zentangle. Sometimes, guys, it's just fun to play with your letters. So maybe you want to be an all caps kind of person. Maybe you want to be a traditionalist. Maybe you want to do this thing. Maybe you want to, oh, I know what. Maybe you're going to write backwards. That's what Frank Lloyd Wright, not Frank Lloyd Wright, Leonardo Da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci often kept his journals. See, there's another journalist. And he would write backwards. My, about. And I like to write backwards to make myself think. Again, why do I like to do all these artistic things? It helps me deal with emotions if they're present. It helps me feel like I'm in control and working with my motor movements, right? If it's a big canvas, that's always fun too. Let's see, what else am I going to put on About Me? Oh, I know. Wait, I don't want to do it that way. Eraser. I'm cheating, just use them. I'm going to go this way. There we go. Oh yeah, this is a good one. Right there. Okay. Then we're going to do this. See if you can tell what it is. I am so curious what you're putting on your About Me's. A journal page is so personal if you want it to be. Yeah, no fix. Where's my erasers? I've got rid of my erasers. I don't like that. Close enough. Oh, and one sweet friend, I love this. Actually, I know more than one, but this one in particular. And you guys may know her because she's also an ambassador, the lovely Cat Hill. She will always, I'm going to put it right here. 3 things for which she is grateful. Every day in her journal. So hers is also a gratitude journal. And by the way, I have a joy journal, a wisdom journal, a courage journal. I do like to have themed journals. I keep a lot of different kinds of journals. Depends on what's going on. Now, believe it or not, this is supposed to be, sound effects are helpful. No, I'm teasing. I know that I could just draw a straight line, but the intent is that these are all individual little circles because they are called lane markers or lane lines in a swimming pool because they help keep your wake in your lane, not to disturb the person swimming next to you. And so this is the 3-foot mark. Oh gosh, you have to have all these markings on your pool, right? Let's go to 10 foot. Yeah, not gonna be diving much, it's okay. And it's going to say, do not dive at the shallow. When I used to teach older kids, I would never do this to younger kids, but on the do not dive, I'd say, what happens if we take the V away? Do not dive. That's right, don't dive in the shallow. Break your neck, don't dive. Come on, sillies. So I love swimming, and I'd have to color that for you to know. Otherwise, it looks like a little inflatable pool, doesn't it? That's okay. About me, since I've gone with cats, 3 things to be grateful for. I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm going to go family, friends, and we'll just be sweet and put foundation, because we wouldn't be here today without the Davis Phinney Foundation. All right. And I could fill in more, right? Or I could go to another page. And I don't think I'm going to necessarily go full to my other page, but I'm going to show you a couple things, if I may. You keep working. Okay, I mentioned this plain brown journal earlier. Okay, you keep drawing. Well, you don't have to, but if you want to, keep drawing. And then I didn't quite finish all that because I wanted to leave it for our last half hour. This is actually called the Sketchbook Project. It is in New York, and they've created the Brooklyn Art Library. This is, interestingly, something that you actually purchased. You purchase it, you fill it out, and you send it back. You might be going, well, why would I give them my art? Well, you sort of give them your art. They get this original book, but if you're like me, you make copies. So I have a digital copy and a paper copy. And so every single one I did, I wanted mine to be educational. So we had 60 of these, and many people with Parkinson's, or even their supporters, friends and family, participated in this. This was a few years ago. Well, it was 2019, just 2 years ago. And so on every single one of mine, I made this little logo, Living Well Today with PD, because the Davis Phinney Foundation, Living Well Today, that's what I made be the theme. So if anybody were to go to this library, which has like, I want to say over 60,000 sketchbooks now, they can go to the shelves and they can find all of these 60, I don't think all 60 got turned in, but we'll be optimistic. Told you. But the 60 sketchbooks are there to educate people about Parkinson's. And so here I have my volume 1, and you can see, of course, the Zentangle Inspired work. And then here is volume 2, and I did 2 lines, changed it a little. Volume 3, volume 4, and volume 5. And this one is going to be volume 6. So that is a wonderful outlet, a great challenge. Do it with some friends. Highly recommend something like that. But you don't have to do something like that. You can get a fancy journal, like the leather one I showed you. You can get a square journal. They have 5x5s. You can, go to Michael's, go to a bookstore. There's going to be a zillion journals. I think some of the intent typically is just to write in them. I have a journal just for architecture. I love architecture, and so I like to draw buildings. And I'll get my little chair and little folding fabric chair. And crazy as it may look, I go sit on the sidewalk across from what I want to draw and get out my sketchbook, whatever I'm going to use, pencil, colors, whatever, and spend a few hours outdoors. It's lovely. And I will draw a building. I will go to the park and draw the turtles or the ducks or the geese. The geese here are rather, I'm not going to use the word aggressive, but they're very accustomed to being fed, and I don't feed them. So they come around honking, and it's like, no, go away. I'm just drawing. They're so fun. And on your About Me page, I hope you will put something that maybe people don't know about you, so that when they read this and look through this, you're actually revealing something. So let me see if there's one more thing I might add that you guys don't know. I already told you I was like, oh, I know. Oh. This is going to be my hint. I'm going to draw this in a circle. 1 inch equals 1 foot. Now for my metric people, I don't know. I'm sorry, I should. But for us imperial people, 1 inch equals 1 foot. Does anybody know what that's in reference to? I know that you can't talk to me. I'll just let you pause and think for a moment. 1 inch equals 1 foot. This is another creative endeavor of mine. You know, Mel once asked me, Lorraine, were you artistic before? Did you do things before? And I usually would say, well, no. Most of this artsy kind of stuff has come out after the Parkinson's, and you guys may be in the same boat. And by the way, speaking of being artistic after Parkinson's, if you haven't yet visited thequiver.org, you might want to look there. Some of your art's featured there. Our wonderful Carrie Howard, photographer ambassador, will have hers up. Carol Klutney. It also includes book, memoirs. We have poetry from Wayne Gilbert. I should say the Quiver. So that's really wonderful. And remember that Arts by People with Parkinson's as a Facebook group. I'm really tickled about this, I have to tell you. 1 inch equals 1 foot. Here, I'll draw it. Do you know yet? I bet you do. Trail, front door. I make miniatures. And one of my favorites, I used button thread instead of yarn. And I used a twin bed pattern. And I crocheted an Afghan for the dollhouse bedroom. So it ends up being, instead of, 5 feet by whatever, it's 5 inches by whatever. Yeah, because 1 inch equals 1 foot. That's the dimensions if you're going into modeling for this. Maybe some of you are railroad people. Railroad, you like trains. At Christmas, put trains around the tree if you're a Christmas person. If you're not a Christmas person, you can put a train around something else. I think we are moving right along beautifully. So your About Me page should be growing. I want to locate my other example here. Oh, there it is. Okay, so some of these are related to Parkinson's because, as I said, many of these are now examples from the Living Well Today with Parkinson's journals that I've been creating. So here is one that I did about diagnosis, okay? And so there's my Maya Angelou quote that I wanted to share. It's similar to the one from Davis, similar to the one from Michael J. Fox. Maya Angelou being a poet, not a person with Parkinson's, but she says, I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it. Okay, Parkinson's brings us its own challenges, right? And so sketching or painting or neurographic art or any creative endeavor, whatever you want to call these things, it helps us live well day by day. And every victory counts. The whole idea that, every day we've been successful in defeating what could bring us down badly, that's marvelous. I also like to journal for stress relief, stress management. And so here I've used I just used a piece of paper and kind of cut, really it looks like a moth, it's supposed to look like a butterfly, but, and then I just sketched it 5 times. And again, there's that, odd number thing. And this Brian Luke Seward has a really fantastic stress management journal. I highly recommend it. He probably has new ones by now. Mine is quite old. But on the human spirit, I put self-renewal, forgive, surrender your ego, be kind, love, live your joy. And I don't know what you're going to put, but you probably have heard that besides art, or in addition to art, not besides, in addition to art, exercise, so critical. Oh, look, I got that pool in there. It looks much better. Cycling, gotta have water, hydration, really important. Your greatest wealth is your health. Here I had the privilege of leading them. I called it, what did I call it? No sweat recess. And we just did a few little moves to, you know, kind of break up the meeting and get going. That's me walking out at the lake. And so breathe. It really is significant. I'm not a good yoga person, but yoga, oh my goodness, it's wonderful. Pilates, wonderful. Hopefully you have some hobbies. Okay, here's some of my other rocks. That's a mouse hiding in his little hole. Lighthouse for a friend that likes lighthouses. That's our dog, Max. So what if you are going to start your own sketchbook and you don't like doing about me? Well, here are some basics. This is from creativelive.com. And so still life. Once I asked in one of these little seminars that they look at what's in front of them. And once I drew the window in front of me, sorry, didn't mean to bang that. I drew the window in front of me and I had paper and book and mug, everything right here on the desk. And I just drew that, just what's around me. And I got that idea from this fun little book, which I always share, or I seem to always share, Draw Your Day. Boy, when I was getting back into journaling a few years ago, because I go in and out. I'm very good at the written journal, but I wasn't always good at the sketch draw. I kind of doubted myself way too much. Nobody's being a critic here, okay? You can do what you want. But this truly is the byline, an inspiring guide to keeping a sketch journal, and that concept of sketching and journaling. So here, for example, was one of her days. It was, it's true, May 19 to 20, 2017. This is a busy mom, and she does this every day. I'm so impressed. I'd be wanting to catch up, and then I'd probably get so far behind I couldn't catch up. But she starts with her coffee. I'm not a coffee person. Love windows and doors, because to me, it's like, okay, if the eyes are the window to the soul, when I'm looking at things, I love to photograph doors wherever I'm vacationing or visiting. And then I come home and I'm sketching or painting or drawing those doors or looking at the photos and seeing what I can use them for. And I imagine, who goes in and out of that door? You know, what was the last thing that happened as someone went in or out of that door? Why did they paint that door that color? Or, man, that's a gorgeous door. I wish that was on my house. I mean, I don't know. Doors fascinate me. And then windows, you know, all the blinds down on a window. Why are all the blinds down on a window? And on my neighbor across the street, we started notice was being shuttered in. I finally went and knocked, and she'd been ill. And I felt so badly. It took me so long to knock because it just wasn't normal for all her blinds to be down all day long for days. So this is just, and then she writes a lot. This says, a window on Jersey Street in Soho after April's panel discussion. I have no clue what that means, but that's good. Yoga in the gallery space the next morning. Okay. Coffee. Major heat, 92 degrees in the city. Okay. I mean, she just writes her daily stuff instead of a diary like, were any of you diary people when you were a kid? Maybe for those of you that are incredible artists or just really enjoy doing what you're doing, no matter how other people might judge your art, I'm confident your art is wonderful. This, you heard of urban sketching? This is one of my favorite sketching books from them. They have a bunch. But especially when I started working with some of the university students, this book gives a lot of tips on sketching some pretty complex things. I had learned about perspective, and perspective is pretty important. I had learned about perspective when I was back in my pre-architecture days. Originally, I was going to be an architect. My first 2 years at the university were in engineering pre-architecture. Well, there were some other plans in my making, and I ended up being a teacher. It's okay. And I wasn't even a teacher of engineering or architecture. That's okay too. My husband ended up being a builder. So the cool thing is I knew enough. So anyway, he and I as a team, I drew the floor plans, he built the houses, including this house I'm in right now. So that's pretty fun. But coming back to other ideas, if those things aren't your cup of tea or a cup of coffee or hot chocolate. Look at this. Some of these I kind of laugh at, but somebody else can relate. But draw a towel in different positions. I have to tell you, I laugh at that one in particular, not because I don't want to draw a towel. I want to draw a towel, and I can. Okay, so here's my towel. And I have to admit, if I'm drawing a crumpled up towel, guess what's going to be popping out? A little cat whisker, because my cats get under the towels and in them. I drew it in the wrong place. There we go. There you can see. But once in my life, I wished I had a towel, and I didn't have a towel. I was on a funny story. I was on a swim trip for a swim meet, and I was in the correct locker room taking a shower. Well, some other people of a different gender, etc., came into the wrong locker room. And all I could do was get into the corner of the shower because I had no towel. Yeah, so I need to draw a towel. Can we create it? Flip, make it be a towel. Shoes, besides mugs or what's in front of people, I said, take your shoe off then, draw your shoe. Okay, so if I was going to draw my shoe right now, here's my shoe. I'm wearing Vera Bradley clogs today because they're lightweight and comfy. And we're doing fun artwork. So if I wanted to draw my croc, I should say, I'm going to look at it. Okay, I'm going to get that little sole. And this is all hit or miss, guys. You know, I'm not saying I know how to draw a croc, but I know they have these holes in them. And I know the toe goes up. Yeah. And then it's going to be, you know, the mule style. But then what's good is the strap can come back so that I don't lose the shoe and trip and fall and hurt myself. So, you know, there's my first attempt at a funny little croc. And I would play with it and do better as time goes by. But that's kind of fun. And then besides still life, it's thinking about what you've done in your day, thinking about your animals. Like I showed you, I had the one little painted rock of Max. And then another mindful, we don't have time to do it, but we're just going to start if you want to. Keep doing your sketch journal or keep working on your Neurographica, if that's what you have going. Interestingly, with Zentangle, they ask that you not use erasers, sort of. I'm going to go with this one. Okay. So, as I mentioned before, now see, here's a pattern. What I love about Zentangle is I do not have to think. These are really when I want to be mindful, but I want to be mindless. I just don't want to make any decisions. I want the decisions made for me, but I want to do something. My hands need to be busy. So here you go. Dot, dot, dot. You don't have to do this with me if you don't want to. Normally these are 3x3s. I'm doing small 2x2 just for time's sake. And then you connect. And here's what's fun. If you want to, those lines don't have to be straight. If you accidentally wiggle, fear not. It is okay. So we looked at Neurographic Art. We looked at sketch journaling. We started with a brand new journal about you, about me. Now here's what's fun here. Okay, I'm going to draw a line now, diagonal. Okay, didn't have to think about anything. I'm going to now do this over here. I'm going to turn it just because it works better for me. I'm right-handed, and I just kind of like to go this way. Okay. Now, what you'll notice is she starts, or whoever devised this, starts these little shapes. So, okay, I can do those little shapes. So we go up and we come down. We go up and we come down. We go up and we come down. Now I kind of check. How are they supposed to go? Okay, I'm doing okay. And I want to go up and down. Mindless yet mindful. I'm concentrating. I'm not worrying about anything. It's very freeing. Kind of fun. Kind of curious what it might look like at the end, although of course I've done this one before, so I know what it's going to look like at the end. Yeah, I kind of get a little squiggle in there. All right, now this side is going to go that way. Over. Over. Okay, see? Over. Basically, it's kind of like a little teardrop, a little paisley. Obviously, I'm better at it going that way. But that's my judgment. Other people may say, Lorraine, it looks fine. Those are my good friends. Although I like honest friends too, that are always holding me accountable. I'm not saying. Okay, that's kind of skinny, so that's not going to work real good. I'm just going to let it go. So in just that couple of minutes, 3 exactly, we've gotten this started. Now, the rest of this is going to be the center, followed by shading. Okay, so now I'm going to do the ones I kind of like better. I'm going to go this way. And I don't know, I like them better because they're easier for me. I don't know about you, but I like it when things are easy. And that's another thing I love about Zentangle. Okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just try to get from side to side, making that little shape. And a teardrop kind of. Yeah, okay, now we're going to go over here. Now I am going to try to make them match in that if I have however many, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to try to match that. Do we have to? Well, no, we won't have to. Now, and if you prefer to kind of sketch like this and then come back and make it a solid line, you could. Hesitate not. So there you go. Doesn't look like much yet, but the fun. You know how we rounded the edges on Neurographic Art? I seem to be drawn to this. Have you noticed? Maybe I just have a simplistic mind. So now I just start shading. And I'm going to shade one side before we stop to see if there's anything that Lee or Jackie or somebody tells me I need to do or say or review. You are so precious to spend some time with me this afternoon, guys. I know I can't see you, but I feel your presence. And I hope Neurographic Art was helpful. I have adored that. I did it with some neighbors as an example, practice, I should say. And they all loved it too. So I thought, yeah, that's what I'm going to do this time. So no right or wrong. It's all about process. I don't really keep very much of this stuff. In fact, I keep very little. I painted mats for my husband. So yeah, that's in the house. I don't know if Gabby's with us today. I wonder if Gabby's sketching. She may have to be at work. Her work, not our work. Gabby, I have a surprise for you. Oh, and I painted horses once on a rock. Now I'm just getting random. But see, that's what's fun. My brain just starts wandering. Okay, now I'm going to kind of clean it up just a smidge. That doesn't look so good. Let's clean that up just a smidge. Okay. Now, don't want to run out of time, so let me just show you something before they stop us. Do you see these fine lines? That is what is going to start giving it so much dimension. I am going to go to a more slender pen. And I have to admit, I often default to the micron pens, but if you're going to go buy pens, you might also like this little set. And I have, one of the crazy things is I just like it because it stands up and it's easy to use. Weirdness, I know. But again, it's another toy. But here you go. I have a finer line. And I look at this and I go, okay, I see. And so I'm just going to kind of sketch a few little fluffy central lines to this. And you begin to see now how that is going to, and you can go darker. Like you can see how they're darker here. If I want to, I can do that too. And that's going to give me the sense. See, this part of this is like a 3D pop. Ah, see how that works? Gotta love it. But see, I couldn't do that with a fat pen. I have to have a thin pen. Okay. I think we, just a smidge more time. Let's just get the center here. But I hope you are exploring some creative expression. You know, maybe there's a new baby in the family. You can create something for them. We have built, like I said, the dollhouse. We have built a rocking horse. I like to crochet when my hands are most cooperative. I have to admit that is something that when I had the trimmers worse, I definitely cut back on some of that. But the crocheting was really helpful. My left hand is the awkward one. The good old Brady Kinesia one. And I'm so fortunate that Mel and they picked this time because my meds go on at noon by 1. It's like, yeah, 1 to 3, piece of cake. Yeah. All right. So you can see what I love, especially as people will see this. I'm not trying to make them think it's hard, but they'll look at a finished product and go, Ryan, how did you do that? That looks so hard. Nope. And then the fun part is, for me, not only did I get to do it and enjoy the process, but then I get to show them how to do it and enjoy watching them enjoy it. It's kind of fun. I didn't like working that way, so I got this. Yeah. And you can see eventually we're going to get to the finished product. And it really is that simple. I am going to stop sharing my screen where we can see each other again. Oh, wait a minute. Where'd you guys go? Oh, there it is. It's up here. And there's Mel.
Hello. I loved that last one. Oh, gosh. I want to.
Zentangle?
Yeah. I still have that book from the first time we did a sketching workshop, and I love it.
Good, good, good. And this is, in case anybody wants to know, this is a Zentangle tile. And the idea with the neurographic art is to be thoughtful, reflective when you finish. Well, with the Zentangle art, here's a tile, 3x3, that's the classic. And then there is the concept of sign it, date it, reflect on it, think about it. Just, I like this kind of art, is where it's, the process is magnificent and then the product is beneficial to my health.
Yeah, and it's so not overwhelming to just see a little square.
Yeah.
It feels like I can maybe do that.
Well, and knowing that you start with 4 dots.
Right.
We can do that.
Right. Exactly. Thanks, everybody. Does anybody have any questions for Lorraine before we sign off? We will be sending the recording so you can do this again, or you can go back to a piece that maybe you started during here and finish it up. But if you have any questions, feel free to throw it in the chat right now. And if not, we will just sign off and
may have stopped too early. Sorry.
Yeah, let you get about your day and keep a lookout for the recording. Let's see any questions. You've covered everything, Lorraine.
Well, usually I just run over and over. And so if I'm 5 minutes short, it's like, how did that happen?
Yes, exactly. Well, a lot of people on and very grateful. So thank you, everybody, for joining us for our workshop today. We really are looking forward to doing a lot more workshops like this in the future. So if you have an idea of something you would love to share, definitely let us know. You can always email us at blog@dpf.org. Thank you, Lorraine. You're just amazing for spending your time with us and teaching everybody. You're such a natural, and this is such a great skill to learn.
Well, and remember, we were looking at Live Well Today, and then Every Victory Counts. If you guys want to post your images, like maybe on the EVCC group on Facebook, it's EVCC on Facebook.
Yeah, that's a great idea, actually.
Let us see your work.
Yes. And actually, if you want, you could email them to us at blog@dpf.org too, and we can do a really fun post that has all the great art that has been created with Lorraine. That would be great.
Fun. Yay.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Enjoy. Bye.